Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer 3 video. Today's topic is how could minor races be implemented into the Total War Warhammer series. So without further ado, let's begin. In the Warhammer Fantasy Battles universe, there are a multitude of different races, many of which are already represented in the Total War Warhammer series, but there's still a decent number of them which are currently not being represented in the Total War Warhammer series, mostly because they are what people consider to be minor races. These are normally races and factions which didn't have a lot of lore or barely had any sort of representation in the grand scope of Warhammer Fantasy Battles. They could have been featured quite heavily in one edition and completely forgotten about in the next. Or by any other means too. So in this video we're going to talk about a few of those minor races that could potentially see themselves created in Total War Warhammer, however they won't be considered full-fledged races, meaning that they would join another faction. Firstly we'll look towards the Halflings, probably the most popular out of all the minor races. The Halflings have always been a fan favourite of the Warhammer Fantasy fans. Yes, they were considered to be a joke race, but they did actually get a decent amount of spotlight within the lore. Their own province, that of the Moot, standing armies, culture, and even their own pantheon. Many could argue that this could actually mean that they could have their own race pack with their own legendary lords and their own complete faction, however there's a few problems here. Firstly, the Halflings were never that competitive in Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and they wouldn't really have great stats in Total War Warhammer 2. I mean, if you imagine it as Halflings fighting against the monsters in Sylvania or, well, Chaos Warriors, they would have a pretty tough time. They also don't really have that many established named characters, and lastly, well, their main base of operations is the Moot, and there's not many other places that they would be other than that. So it'd be a pretty bare race pack with maybe one or two legendary lords, and not that many minor factions added too. So here would make sense that they join their natural allies instead, that of the Empire. Instead of getting a full Halfling roster, maybe a set of 5 to 7 units more or less, with possibly a legendary lord, and that could be recruited by anyone who controls the Moot. It would give the Empire incentive to actively seek the Moot and get some units tied to that specific location. These Halflings would normally be scouts, decent bowmen, maybe the hot pot too. Nothing too big, nothing too major, but then again it's Halflings, so don't expect a lot of damage dealers. But this seems like an easy and realistic way to actually see the Halflings placed into the Total War Warhammer series. Now let's move on to our next race, the Norse Dwarfs. The Norse Dwarves of Krakadrak are another popular fan favourite. Originally one of the most wealthiest of the dwarf holds, they found themselves isolated and lost from their fellow kin for many years. During their race's isolation, they found themselves changed to the point where they drastically differ from their other brethren. They have adapted to and adopted various parts of culture from the Norsemen to the north. As for many years, these northern berserkers were their only point of contact. The Norse dwarves have not advanced technologically as their fellow kin, instead they fight very similar to how the Norsemen of Norska do. These are the very few times you'd see dwarves with spears, for example, and they would prefer bows and crossbows to, well, handguns. They would still be a hardy folk and very powerful in melee combat, but they wouldn't be as numerous too. These dwarves would also vary quite drastically to their fellow kin. Rather than using heavy armor, they would most likely use lighter armors and fur. Once again, these special dwarves could be tied to Krakadrak itself, where you could only recruit Norse dwarves when you capture the region, maybe a special legendary hero type character, and, well, maybe 5 or 6 units, same as the Halflings? I'm saying region-specific areas a lot, mainly because I thought of this up recently whilst just recording, and it might be an interesting way to incentivize the player to move around in the map and go capture specific locations. Now, we've already got something similar with this with the Empire already, with the Elector Count system, where once you capture an Imperial province, you'll be able to recruit province-specific units. However, that takes a few turns to be able to recruit multiple ones. Whereas here, the system could be that you could recruit them freely as long as you control the province. Another perfect example would be the Kurgans. The Kurgans themselves are a Chaos race, which are featured heavily in the lore, but never really received models barring a few characters, such as Tamukan in the Thrones of Chaos book. The Kurgans themselves are quite different to the Norskans. They do have different culture, different types of warfare and so on, so it could be a perfect time to see a reskin. Yes, I know people aren't fans of reskins, but this could be just a visual reskin to change up a troop. But as you've seen on the character that I put on the video, it would most likely go all focused towards that in development and probably just some basic reskins for any Kurgans. These are just some examples of minor races that could be implemented in a very minor way to the Total War Warhammer series, but my question to you is as follows. What do you think about minor races being implemented in such a way just to have some representation in the Total War Warhammer series, and what minor races would you like to see in the series itself? Personally, I'm all for the Halflings, the Norse Dwarfs too. I would like to see the Kurgans represented in a Kurgan army, mainly because they are quite distinct if you look at Kurgan once again, but it could be possible that they'll just be added in just a format of minor races. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. I'm rather curious, mainly because there's so many different races and factions that could be added in as a minor race. I'd like to see what you guys, the community, think about this, and how you think it would be implemented. Seeing loads of minor factions added in could also pave the way for a free city-state type of faction, you know, Marienburg and so on, where it's not really one race that occupies the city, but a multitude of different races. Maybe I'm hoping for a bit much there, but honestly, you know, this is why we do the speculation videos. It's kind of fun to do these things. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below, we have various different social media links, such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team, talk to us about Total War, Warhammer, or just anything, really. Also in the description section below is an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could get loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Purchasing using this link and also using our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. Honestly, it's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to our patrons Gibraltar LUSC and Ryan Bertsche for subscribing to us at our Fane level. Honestly, you guys are super cool. And a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, the channel's been growing a lot lately, and it's all thanks to you guys. Without you, the Great Book would be nothing. We're trying to implement more videos into the channel soon, but we're getting stuff done outside of YouTube at the moment, just like artwork and so on for the channel. It's just taking a little while to get everything to look to a standard that we feel is cool. Honestly, guys, thank you so much for all the support lately. It's been amazing. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.